first step to burnout is actually enjoying what you're doing. Who taught you that you were inherently enough, or was everybody telling you that you had to work hard to be somebody instead of telling you that you are somebody? We don't control any of this. We're just here to act inside of it, and I think that's what I think success is. You're okay even when you're not okay. Love yourself all your ways. And yeah, the only dream worth living is enjoying your life.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Code 3 Life Reinvented. This is your host, AJ, and I'm really thrilled with the guest that we have today. She comes from a profession that's a little different than the corporate setting, to say the least. And I'm thrilled that she's joining us. She has won many awards and accolades in her career as a sound engineer in the music industry. She's won gold and platinum for artists like Lizzo or Post Malone. She certainly worked with those artists among many others. I just want to get started in this conversation. So let me introduce today's guest, AMAC McGuire. Ali, welcome to Code 3.
Hey, AJ, thanks for having me. Excited to dive in.
Let's do it. Let's dive right on in. Tell us about your Code 3 moment.
Yeah, my Code 3 moment it was a slow burn, to say the least, right? But I had basically woken up after I had an incredible event that I threw for a community that I had built, and I just woke up and was like, I literally can't do this anymore. I had given myself about 6 full-time jobs by that point, and I had been wanting to figure out what was going on inside of me for a long time, but I never seemed to be able to move it. I never was able to figure out how to actually go through it. And when I woke up that day, I realized you've got to figure out what's going on with you. And if you don't, you're going to die.
Well, that's serious. That's really serious. Why did you think you were going to die?
It just wasn't sustainable. I wasn't going to be able to keep going on like this. I had achieved everything I ever wanted to achieve, really, and I didn't like my life. All I was doing was doing more and doing more and doing more and doing more, trying to find the thing that was going to make me happy, to enjoy being alive. And it just wasn't happening, and I couldn't sustain. Even self-care became a job at that point because I was trying to fake it till you make it, try to figure it out.
And when you fake it till you make it, guess what? You're wearing masks, right? And you're living in someone else's world, wearing their shoes or walking in their shoes. And that just causes some internal strife is what I'm hearing you might have been experiencing. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, there was quite a bit of internal strife, I would say, for sure.
Yeah. So let's set a few things up. So I introduced you. I mean, you're from the music industry, music veteran. You've worked with some outstanding, very well-known artists. Just for our listeners, like, when did you start in this industry? I know you love music. It's a total passion, core passion of yours, but give us a little bit of a backgrounder that leads to this moment that you just talked about so we can understand where you're coming from.
I didn't start doing music until I was 19 years old. I actually was going to school to be a journalist, and I kept failing everything that I was doing, even though I was working really hard at it. Eventually, I got a paper back and I had failed again. And I was like, nah, I can't do this anymore. So I went and I dropped out of college without telling anyone I was going to do it. And yeah, none of my friends, nobody knew.
You were, and can I take a guess which college this was by any chance?
You can, but I'm going to guess you're not going to get it right.
Okay. I only asked because on your website, you have one college at the very bottom of your website. It's Stanford, and I don't know what the connection is there.
Great part about Stanford is, so I dropped out of community college, but the reason Stanford is on my website is because through my career, I then became so successful that I was asked to speak at Stanford after being a community college dropout.
Okay, so you dropped out, you were community college, you were going to be a journalism person, wasn't working, failing on your projects. Now what?
Well, when I got in the car to go home, I realized that I was going to need to have some kind of plan. And I thought about how I wanted to make beats when I was 15, but I wasn't exactly encouraged to do that. I was like, all right, let's just go to the library and look that up. So I went to the library, looked up music schools, and that's what I decided I was going to do. I went home, told my parents. They were like, do whatever you want, but you're on your own. And I was like, all right, cool. So I went to audio school in Baltimore. I just did a 6-month program, came out of it and was like, yeah, I'm definitely an audio engineer. I was not, but this was a good fake it till you make it for a while, right? Then I moved to Philadelphia and tried my best to become an audio engineer. I would go around the city just pretty much like knocking on studios' doors. At that time, it was 2009. So I used Craigslist a lot, which was super unsafe. Do not recommend. But it was the only way. I didn't know anyone who did music full time. It was the only way I knew how to connect with people, right? And eventually I ran out of all my money, got a job at a Jimmy John's sandwich shop, went in first day, quit, said, no, I'm going to figure out how to make music happen. And about a week later on Craigslist, I saw an opening for a venue that said they were hiring live sound engineers for their upstairs venue, and they'd pretty much accept anyone who is willing to take $60 a night. Yeah, I went in, the interview told them, please don't interview anyone else. I'll take every shift. You don't need another person. And they hired me. And that led to a 7-year career as a live sound engineer. So for anyone listening who doesn't know what that is, it means that I was doing sound for the audience at venues. It's called front of house. And I really started working all over Philadelphia really quickly after that, made a name for myself. I eventually was going out on tours, and that led me in 2016 to become the front of house engineer and go on tour with Fetty Wap and Post Malone. So yeah, that was crazy. And it was really honestly by word of mouth, which is even crazier. But after that, I met a mentor on the tour. She was like, you really want to make records. You didn't even really want to be a live sound engineer. And I didn't. I just needed a job, and I was willing to do anything that was involved with music. And I worked with like a bunch of other legends during that time as well. She was like, if you really want to make records, you got to go to LA. And look, I never really wanted to leave Philadelphia. I'm an East Coast girl through and through, but I wanted to make records. So I moved across the country. I had a good enough live sound resume. I was going to be able to find work. I just figured out when I get there. And I did that for about a year until I got into a studio and started working all over LA as well. The first big client that I ever got to work in the studio with was Kelly Rowland. And apparently I have to tell people who Kelly Rowland is now, and that's the stage I've reached in my life. So Destiny's Child, Beyonce's group, it's Kelly Rowland. Also got a job working at Good Music, which is Kanye's record label. And this was before Kanye really went down a rabbit hole. I worked at Atlantic Records, and I just worked all over LA, working with major labels and artists, big and small, eventually achieving gold and platinum records with Joji and Shorty Shorty were the artists that those albums are with. And then I burned out.
And then you burned out. Incredible. Thank you for sharing that. And that is really, really good framing. And I love the story of your hustle and your grit to pursue your passion. That is super cool. And I will say, by the way, listeners, we've got a special surprise at the end of the show. AMAC is going to introduce us to, but we've got some music of hers from her album that we're going to preview here at the end of the show. So stay tuned for that. So you burned out, and I hate to hear that. It seems like it was a good awakening for you based on what I've seen that you're up to now and what you're doing. How were you able to walk away from all of that? I mean, when I say all of that, I'm talking about the partying, and maybe this is what led to the burnout, right? But the partying, the travel, being around such famous people, I guess there's some glitz and glamour in there as well. Getting your name on some really important work. Just what was it?
A big part of my story is, so now I'm 14 years sober.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you. And fortunately, I quit drinking when I was 23. I actually quit drinking 3 weeks before I got that live sound job. And that's crazy. 3 weeks later, my life changed. I started making all my money off of music. But what I didn't realize for another 12 years when the burnout happened was that I just traded alcohol for overworking. I mean, when I was 23, quitting drinking, I just thought like that I overdrank. I thought I couldn't control my liquor. I didn't understand that I was drinking for a reason, trying to solve problems, and that then I was trying to be successful to solve those problems. So yeah, I had replaced alcohol with overworking, and people aren't checking in with you when you're overworking because that's the culture of where we live, and becoming successful and achieving all my dreams looks so much better than when I was throwing chairs through walls. And it's very exciting. The first step to burnout is actually enjoying what you're doing. But if you don't have boundaries set up for yourself, it's very easy to just be so excited and you keep saying yes and you keep doing the things. And I was so focused on the goal of this outward achievement that I wasn't aware I believed was going to cure me, right? It was going to make me feel better. And I eventually achieve all of these things. And I'm like, why don't I feel any different? All I'm doing is working, trying to achieve these goals. And it's just a momentary fix when something cool happens that I get to post about, right? It's like very similar to drinking and doing drugs, of like this momentary high that you get that makes you feel better, but then it's gone in a second. And I'm just continually chasing this thing. And while I'm successful, all of these other things are like, there's so many important relationships in my life, artists that I'm working with, things that are falling apart as well. And eventually that all came to a head when I created a community organization, which was the party that I had that was really successful. And I was trying to help people live their dreams in a healthy way. And that was my fake it till you make it, of me trying to do that as well. Eventually realizing that all the success, the things that I was stacking up, the community that I built was just me trying to fill the holes in my heart. And I eventually when I woke up that day, my body was full. There was nowhere else to put any more emotion, turmoil, things that I didn't want to deal with, that I didn't want to face. And I just was exhausted. I hadn't stopped in 15 years because I was just running and running and running and running and running and running and running.
It's really neat to hear you talk about this and the perspective that you had at that age and the industry you were in, when I think a lot of people looking from the outside looking into the music industry at that level think, oh, it must be amazing. And you have access to all these things and doors get open to you that aren't open to the public and so on and so forth. So to have that presence of mind is really quite something. And I was able to watch a piece that you did. It was almost like a manifesto that you did. It's on the Produce Like a Pro series. You talked directly to the camera for something like 25 minutes. And it was really inspiring what you did and how you talked about the music industry and how and the risks and the pros and cons and all that stuff. I think for emerging artists in that space, I think that'll be a very, very helpful manifesto, for lack of a better word, to watch. And you said something to the effect of that success fills holes. And to me, that I'd never thought of success filling holes in a way, but I'm super inspired that you said that. And it got me thinking a bit differently about things. But I want to hear you, in your words, share with us what that means.
Well, it's interesting because my perspective now is that we don't have any holes to fill. Ever.
Okay.
but
well,
most,
good. Okay. Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know that then. And a lot of people don't understand that, right? The thing is, what I didn't realize, and all of this stuff I'm talking about is so hindsight is 2020. I did not have this awareness while I was going through all of this, right? When I walk away from it. Oh, and you asked me, this is what I didn't answer. You asked me, how did I stop? How did I walk away from it? Because I had no other choice. I literally physically couldn't do it. I couldn't go into my studio. I just physically, a devastating burnout is when you hate the thing that you love. I had to take this space and this time, and probably one of the most important and first understandings that really clicked for me because when you're first in it, I mean, it's like the depths of despair is how I feel about it. And I didn't know what the point of anything was anymore, what I was ever going to do. I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to do music again. And my friend was like, you should watch this TED Talk by Brene Brown. I watch it and I don't think that I ever thought about how I thought about shame before in my life. If I ever thought about shame before in my life, really. And that's when I realized I was carrying a lot of shame that wasn't even mine. I didn't actually believe these things about myself, but I was carrying them anyway. So those are the holes that I was trying to fill. All these holes that people told me that I had, that I didn't really. And I was trying to prove to people that I was full, right? I was trying to prove to people that I was worthy. I was lovable. That's what my success was about. I didn't understand that the outcome I thought I was going to get when I got a platinum record was that people were going to tell me that I was worth something, that I actually had value, because I had felt and been told my whole life that I didn't. And those were the holes that I was trying to fill. But those weren't, when I say I don't think we have holes, because those holes weren't real. They were imaginary. They were ones that were given to me, but I chose to carry them.
When you say like you couldn't do it anymore, I just want to come back to that for a split second, because I wonder what you experienced was what I experienced in my world in financial services. But what was that physical like experience for you when you just couldn't do it anymore? You've hit that wall. What did it feel like?
It was just exhaustion and anger. I would honestly feel physically ill. When I talk about this, like the burnout, and you're like, well, I hope it wasn't a health scare, right? But it was. It wasn't a heart attack, right? But I was sick.
Your body keeps receipts. And I know in my own circumstance, like I literally was getting sick, like nauseous and vomiting. And that was part of when I knew like this has got to, my body is telling me an awful lot. A lot of what I hope that we do throughout the course of this podcast and what we're building here, and then my company more, is trying to help people avoid the life crisis that forces the change. Why don't you think people listen to their bodies when they're in those circumstances?
Who teaches you how to listen to your body? Nobody teaches you to listen to your body. You don't know until you're forced to know. Like you said, the work that I'm doing is because nobody ever said any of this to me. Nobody ever introduced it to me. The work isn't going to stop you from going through hard stuff if I share it with you. What it is going to do, my hope is that you're going to be able to realize what's happening first. But now when something happens to me, I'm like, oh, I feel that just under my rib cage, right? Just under my lungs there, or that's on my heart, or that's on my shoulder. I never thought like that. I was like, my back hurts. Ow. I'm like, yeah. What did I do? Did I sleep wrong last night? Oh no, it's 30 years of trauma stuck in your back. Nobody says that to you. Nobody teaches you to listen to your body. Nobody tells you any of this stuff. In fact, they tell you to ignore it most of the time. So that's why people don't listen to their body, because no one's ever even mentioned it to them. It's not even a thought, and they're told to push through, man up or shut up, right?
Let's talk about what you're doing now. So you had a big pivot. Tell us what you landed on and how you got there.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was going to do. There was no intention to do what I'm doing now. But when I was really in like the bottom of it is when I got the opportunity to speak at Stanford. Because part of the reason I created the community was because I had decided I wanted to be a speaker, because I wanted to help people. And at that time, I wanted to help people not feel the way that I felt. Now I want to help people feel the way that I do feel. But I got the talk at Stanford, and the person who asked me to come in said, I know where you're at in life, and I know you don't want to just come here and talk about how to mix a record. So you can come and talk about whatever you want. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. I'm going to just come in and talk about how everything sucks.
It's going to be an awesome talk.
It's going to be so good. It'll be like, life is so pointless. Yeah.
Why bother?
Yeah. But I was like, okay. And I had about 5 months to figure it out. when I first had the burnout, I thought I was going to just take like 2 weeks off because 2 weeks was such a crazy long amount of time to me at that point. And then once I got to 2 weeks, I was like, I cannot do that. How about I take 2 months? And then 2 months happened and I would try to come back and I couldn't. So I just became committed to the intention of going through it. As I went through it, there's so many layers, but I decided that I was talking to music students at Stanford, and I wanted to tell them how to navigate the music industry. That just coincided with this healing journey that I was on. That is what led me to create the Immaculate Mindset Inner Compass framework, because I started with values. And because after I watched the Brené Brown TED Talk, I literally read every book she wrote immediately as fast as I possibly could. And she talked about how knowing your values means that you never walk into a room alone. So, and at this time I was in my anger phase. So I wrote like this whole thing about I was going to like burn the music industry down to the ground, But inside of it, I was saying you're going to be able to navigate the music industry if you know your core values. And I had a friend of mine read it and she said to me, Allie, this is good, but you never talk about how you broke your values here. And I was like, oh. And this was another crack in half, a whole spiral I had to go down. My core values are authenticity and growth. And I was always being authentic and I was growing. And that's when I realized that I didn't love myself enough to not be in these toxic situations. So values weren't enough for me. And so I kept going and eventually came up with the whys, which is your motivation. And I broke that down into your ego and your purpose. My ego whys were searching for validation and proving people wrong. So that's why, even though I was authentic and I was growing, that's what was driving me. My purpose whys are joy and impact, which were also still there, but they weren't as important as me figuring out how to have worth. And
can I stop you right there? Why is that, do you think? Why did your ego wise, knock your purpose wise to the side?
Because to be in your purpose, you have to know that you're enough, because otherwise you are working out of an empty cup. So moving in your ego and your insecurities, trying to fill those holes is trying to find a way to fill the cup to be in your purpose. But you have the cup the whole time.
It's such an important concept that you introduce here that I think it merits like pausing, because the way you define it, we have ego wise and our purpose wise. And this is a cool construct that I haven't talked about. So I'm excited to hear how you got there and discuss it. And that the ego wise were driving you and trying to prove yourself, I think you said, right? And show that you belong. Your purpose wise, what were joy and impact, I think. But they took a back seat. They go to the back of the bus. That's upside down in a way, right? I mean, I think so many of us do this. We're trying to prove and solve our ego and not what's like super core and fulfilling.
Well, it goes back to it's the same thing. Who taught you that you were inherently enough, or was everybody telling you that you had to work hard to be somebody instead of telling you that you are somebody? Yeah, I had to cure the insecurities before I could do that, right? Of saying, I can't do this until I get here. I can't apply for this job until I have this, that, and this. It's a lot of stuff like that.
You're spot on. And if you're listening, listeners, check in on this, because where are your values? And I think values, I agree with AMAC here that, values are a really fundamental starting point and the building blocks that where you start. If you were to go through the exercise here that AMAC's introduced, like, okay, but my whys are maybe even competing. I've got these two buckets as she's defined them, and they've been competing, and one has been beating the others. And ultimately that led to, I think, where we're headed, right, is what you're doing now and the inspiration you got from Brené Brown, who's amazing, right?
I read a lot during this. So reading a lot of other people's books, Pema Chodron, Jay Shetty's Think Like a Monk was really important book during this time for me. Just listening to everybody else share their story. And when I listen to all of these books, I'm like, everybody is kind of saying the same thing. They're just saying it in their own way. So this was my way of writing down what I understood. So I got the values, I got the whys, and then the what's, which is what you do for your whys and your values. Everything is a what. Us being on this podcast is a what. We can look in and see if I'm here for my ego or I'm here for my purpose. If we align on our values to continue having a relationship. And then we get into our hows, which is how we think, act, and feel and communicate. So let's say I always use studio metaphors because it's my life, right? So I'm about to go in the studio. How am I thinking about going into the studio? Like, what's going on in my brain? How do I feel in my body before I go? And how am I acting before I go? And then before, during, and after all of that is a great way to determine whether something is just challenging or whether it's unsafe or whether it's in alignment or it's not. And, what's going on, whether I'm even like, am I in this situation and I'm having a hard time in it because of what's happening right now or because of something from my past? Like, what is really going on with me? And the hows is really how you learn to observe yourself and what's really going on inside of you. And that's the Inner Compass framework that is led by the ideas of awareness, accountability, and curiosity. So you become aware, you become accountable, you continue to get curious, to become more aware, to become more accountable, and to get even more curious about what's going on inside of you. The depths of us as human beings, ourselves, and collectively is so much deeper than any of us could ever imagine.
And how are you bringing that forward now? Tell us about what you're doing.
I wrote this book.
The Immaculate Mindset Inner Compass. Build your Inner Compass workbook. Become aware, stay aware, choose your life.
Because the only dream worth living is enjoying your life, enjoying the experience. I was so focused on the outcome, I didn't ask myself if I was enjoying it while it was happening. And so many of us are doing that. But we didn't come here. I can't take that platinum plaque with me. How was the experience while I was here? Because humans have created this wild way of being alive. I mean, the fact that we're talking over the internet is insane in so many ways. But we forget that we're just part of the earth and we're just here to experience life. So yeah, I wrote a workbook about it to help people enjoy experiencing their life. And then I also wrote an album that accompanies the workbook.
The Immaculate, which we're going to get to, listeners. Stay tuned.
We're going to get to.
We're going to get to. I'm so excited for you to talk about that. You're out speaking and doing workshops. Is this the new AMAC in her world?
For sure. So the Immaculate Mindset is like the overall idea of the company. It's just sharing my story. So I go out and I speak. I go in between speaking and the music, doing workshops based on the book. I mentor other people using the Inner Compass framework as well, whether that's in career or just in life or whatever aspect that you want to focus on. Currently, it's all your life anyway. And going out, doing the music, just trying to help people find their voice and wade through all of the many, many other voices that we've been listening to for our lives.
Listening to you and the research I've done on you is that you might be a light. You're not the light at the end of the tunnel. I think you're the light that helps people go through the tunnel.
Something that I say and has been like a more recent understanding for me, but a lot of people want to just be, I'm just love and light. But without the darkness, you're just blind. So we have to go into the dark and we're supposed to be the light in the dark. I personally think that our darkness, our insecurities, they're here for us to light us. Now, my ego is always going to be here. My insecurities are always going to be here. If I get past them, I will have to have meditated for probably longer than I have been alive.
Yeah.
But when these thoughts come to me now, I say, thank you for being here. Why are you here? Let's sit down and talk about it. I walk with my dark and I'm the light inside of that to show people around, for lack of something better.
That is just amazing. And it's so great. And this is a huge pivot and a pivot away from something that has what I believe, at least outside looking in, I know it's very different if you're in the music industry and at the level you were at. It seems like it's got a lot of sex appeal. Like if I look at the music industry, I'm like, I wish could be a part of it. Like the fun, the parties, the glamour, the glitz, the cool art you're making in music and expressing yourself and healing the world through words, all this sort of stuff. I just think would be like, to me, again, I'm not a part of the music industry. I can't hold a note when I sing. I do dabble on the piano, but I just think it'd be so cool. And for you, at the age you did, you just hit the pause button or the eject button. It sounds more like this isn't working. I'm going in another direction. I'm going to follow who I am and gain my alignment with myself is what I'm hearing from you. And I just think that is incredibly powerful and noble.
That's what I've always tried to do. And that is what I did with the awareness that I had at the time, right? The music industry, I mean, it took me around the world. I've done so many incredible things. It was also really difficult. That's life. And without it, doing it at a high level, I'm able to, I wrote, recorded, mixed, and mastered my entire album myself. I have a producer who's my partner who makes all the music for me. And I'm able to do this from the 20, 30,000 hours that I put into music. And I was so fortunate to work with some of the best producers and songwriters in the world. When I first went to LA, it was crazy. People from all over the world come to LA. You don't have to leave. You're working with people from so many different countries, so many different backgrounds. As an audio engineer, I'm doing multiple different genres all the time. I'm learning all of this stuff. I didn't even go into this as a songwriter. And then I was also still helping people find their voice. I was just doing it in a behind the scenes way that then enabled me to find mine and to have mine and now to share mine. So all of that in every possible way was what had to happen to bring me to right now. I think with pivots, I wish when we were kids, people always ask, what are you going to be when you grow up? And then we're just supposed to be one thing for the rest of our lives instead of being taught, what do you want to experience in your life? What do you want to do? And, I never thought this was on the block of things for me to do, but I just wrote down my story and I let life lead me here to have another experience. I still love music. It took me a little while to get to a place where I felt good about recording people again because I was so hurt, but I wasn't hurt by the music industry at the end of the day. Even though wild things happen in there, I was still just hurt by what I was going through as a human being because I made all of those choices to stay where I stayed. And you have to be radically accountable for absolutely everything that happens for you. It is all on me, which is a song on my record. We are taught that we're just supposed to do this one thing. You can pivot whenever you want. Do as many things. There's no box for you to be in. You're here to experience and share our stories and connect with each other. Life isn't about individualism and achievements. It is about how we connect with each other and plant seeds for those who come after us. And that's all I'm trying to do.
How do you find success and fulfillment in your life now?
I don't find anything to be unsuccessful anymore. Like, I don't think that there are bad days anymore. And I know that that can sound insane with also the state of the world and how it's all going, but it's all here to teach something, whatever that is. But I determine success as being able to go through every day and holding all of the emotions that entails as a human. The grief, the anger, the sadness, the joy, the awe, the inspiration, all of it at the same time because it's all here. We spend so much time just trying to be happy, and I don't even think happiness is the point. I think it's to be grateful and to allow. And however we allow all of these things that are moved inside of us to activate us into what we are supposed to do to help the world, to meet the moment, We're here to meet the moment. I'm not even here to create a moment that I want because we don't control any of this. We're just here to act inside of it. And I think that's what I think success is.
If you summarized everything up, what do you think would be the top 1, 2, or 3 big learnings about making this shift, this pivot in your life and career?
You're okay even when you're not okay. Love yourself all your ways. And yeah, the only dream worth living is enjoying your life.
I love what you say there because I feel like self-care, self-compassion, self-love is so critical. And that's what you're leading with there. AMAC, it's just really awesome to have you on the show. And I know we're going to talk about your album and song in just a second. But before we get there, how do people find you, connect with you? What's the best way to engage, communicate with you?
So you can definitely find out a lot about me. There's a ton of information on my website at immaculent.com. So AMACULENT. That is AMACULENT. Like I'm leaving an old voice message when you had to say your number twice.
I thought it was like a commercial. That's AMACULENT.
1-800-AMACULENT.
Pretty much.
So you can find me there. You can find me on Instagram at Immaculate as well. I've got the Immaculate Mindset on YouTube. You can email me at info@immaculate.com. Places to buy the book are also on my website, and the album. Those are all the places you can find me. And somewhere in the world, maybe you'll see me on the street.
I just want to say, some things that really jumped out to me in this conversation. I think like the mic drop moment for me with what you were saying was around your key learnings. Like you're okay when you're not okay. I want to pause on that because I think those words need to land with people and settle in because it's okay and you're okay. And I think those are really, really wise words. Love yourself in all your ways. I think for high achievers and people who are super highly motivated, that's really hard to do. That's a real challenge. I know I personally have struggled with that. I've come around in my wise older years. Hopefully I'm wise. The only dream is just enjoying life. It's your third point there. Like those such powerful points. Thank you for sharing those.
I always want to say, when I say enjoy your life, I just want to be clear on what that means. So I'll always ask people, has anyone ever said that you couldn't be what you wanted to be in your life? The answer is 99.9% of the time, yes, somebody has said that to me. And I'll tell them, I never thought that I couldn't achieve my dreams. I knew that I was going to be successful in music, no matter who told me I wouldn't be. But what I didn't know was if I could ever actively want to be alive, that I could learn to enjoy my life. So it's not about just figuring out how to be happy and everything is great and let's ignore all of the things. The way I learned to be happy, not to be happy, to be grateful, the word is important, is how grateful I am for the hard times. And they're annoying. I'm like, oh, we got to go through some shit again. I thought we just got done with this. But learning how to enjoy your life, even when it's difficult, especially when it's difficult. I mean, a lot of the time, joy is even harder to have than pain. So it's always difficult, even in what we consider the easy emotions, right? So just learning what that means. I ask myself all the time, could I hold this faith if I was homeless tomorrow, right? These are really hard things. Like it's really easy if I'm in a privileged situation where I'm okay and I'm taken care of. But what if something happened where I wasn't? Could I still enjoy my life? Could I still make an impact and have joy? I believe the answer is absolutely yes.
Absolutely yes.
So that's what it means to enjoy your life, not just to have fun going down a water slide, but also do that.
I mean, I do love a good water slide for sure. Oh, thanks for expanding on that. I think it's great. I think it's really great. And, one word that you said earlier, sorry, I wanted to bring it up as you said it in terms of your core values was authenticity, one of the two. And I just think that is such an important piece to all of this too. I personally believe very strongly in the power of authenticity. And I think for us to be authentic to ourselves and love ourselves for who we authentically are, and to honor what we authentically care about and pursue what is authentic to us. Yeah, I just think that's a powerful thing. I don't know if you have any other things you'd like to say about authenticity, but I think it is a really important word in a world where we're social media to death and all these sorts of things, and we're supposed to look up to people and follow people and be in a certain way, show up a certain way. We kicked off the show talking about that. But at the end of the day, I believe that the true source of joy is when we honor our authentic truth.
Absolutely. And there's levels to authenticity. True authenticity comes with vulnerability, and vulnerability is difficult for every single one of us. Because what does it really mean to be vulnerable? It means that you're in a situation where you do not know the outcome. And when we're talking about authenticity of being yourself, sharing something vulnerable with somebody who may try to shame you for it, you don't know, because that's what being vulnerable is. And the true authenticity lies within you being able to accept that that may happen, and your capacity to be able to deal with it. Not even deal with it, invite it in and hang out with it and be cool with it, and then get up and do it again the next day, and not just retreat back into fitting in, but being vulnerable to belong, because you belong everywhere you are. And that's my chat on authenticity.
Ali, AMAC, McGuire. If anyone is interested in what I do and what my business More does, please check us out at bemorealigned.com. I would love to hear from you about feedback on the show, ideas for future guests, anything that's on your mind with respect to what we're doing here at Code 3 Life Reinvented. You can reach me at my email, hello@bemorealigned.com. Okay, AMAC, let's talk about your album, the song we're gonna drop here in a sec on the show, and where people can find it. You said on your website. Is there any other place that this album is available?
So, as if I don't have enough names, my actual artist name is also Immaculate, because AMAC, there have just been too many AMACs, but Immaculate, that is all mine. So you can find that on all of the streaming places that you could find it at. Again, you can also find it and actually buy it on the website. So if you get the workbook, the album actually comes with the workbook because it accompanies it. If you read the book, you'll see how the album integrates itself in there, because they're both the story of how I went from hating myself to loving myself. And it's the arc of that. We go through a ton of different emotions throughout the album. They're all mantras. I wrote this album from me to me. It's not about, none of these songs are about anybody but me. Even if a specific person ignited a thought, it's really just a cycle in my life that has happened over and over and over again. So my hope is, if you listen to this album, when you listen to this album, if you need a little support to know that you're not alone, you can always sing the songs with me. You could sing them directly to yourself in the mirror as if it's not me and it's you. And that it helps you learn how to alchemize your pain, because that's what I did with this record. It's my love letter to my pain. It's what I did with this workbook, this framework that I use every single day of my life, and how I went through it. One of the coolest things about it is that when I'm going through stuff, I literally have me to remind me that I know how to do it. And On One, the song we're going to play, is actually the first song that I wrote for the album, but I didn't know it. It was written about 2 weeks before that party and before my burnout, of me writing a song. I'm on one, trying to figure myself out, trying to get to the core of this. And as long as you are on one, then you are on the path. No matter where you are, no matter how many times you tried and it didn't work out, everything you did today was enough. Just get up and try again tomorrow and be on one.
Oh my God. Turn that up. Yeah, we on one, living our lives, spending all the time, yeah, right, yeah, we on one, taking our time, thinking how the hell I'm gonna make it. Others looking in the mirror and I say I'll take it. Some days I wake up thinking I'm the greatest of all time. Some days no one can stop me, everything is mine. What's that, God? He said nobody can stop you. Thank you to the man upstairs for everything I got. The good times and the bad times, yeah, you know I had a lot. I be making all my problems harder than they are. Yeah, the old days, yeah, they gone. Yeah, the new days, they only good. Yeah, the old days, yeah, they gone. Yeah, the new days, they only good. Yeah, we on one, living our lives, spending all our time, yeah, right. Yeah, we on one, taking our time, putting all our hearts on the line. Yeah, we want one, so I know we'll win twice, 3 for the rest of our lives. Yeah, we on one. Yeah, we on one. The day that I was born, yeah, I always knew who I was. People are intimidated when you know what you want. Judgment from this world sometimes got me feeling alone. I'm not a perfect person, but I always do my best though. And let's be honest, I'm a cut above the rest though. I never told another person all the things I've been through. You can't even imagine all the weight that I've carried, trying to cover up all this pain that I've buried. Yeah, the old days, yeah, they gone.